Yo, what's up? It's your boy E.T. Welcome to another edition of Mass Impact, the educational podcast. Now, look, the reason why I started this, I truly believe that education is the way to close the gap, the wealth gap, the digital divide gap, the opportunity gap. Look, the American dream gap. Can I be honest? Everybody's not experiencing the American dream in the way it's supposed to be experienced. So the reason why we started the Mass Impact, the educational podcast, is to close that gap. Now look, mass is simple. It means motivate, actionable steps, which means what? We're going to give you strategies every week. So we're not just going to motivate you and inspire you, which is important, but we're going to give you actionable steps. And look, it's a support system, y'all. Thus Mass. It's your boy E.T. Now you know. Let's go. What up? What up? What's up? It's your boy E.T. Hey, super excited as always, man. This is the day, y'all. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad. All right. So super excited over here. We're all about solutions. We know problems exist. We're not blind to problems, but we just rather put our energy on solution. All right. So a couple things, of course, Mass Impact is all about one, motivation. Right. The M is for motivation. We want to inspire you. We want to give you the fuel and the energy you need to keep going. All right. That's important. And then also we know that it is action steps. Like you can be excited and motivated and pumped up, but you got to have a direction to go in. Right. So we believe in action steps. And then, of course, the SS is support system. Like it is so important for us to lean on each other, especially in these times. Like we live in a time now where you can't do this thing alone. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 20 years ago, you could do this thing called education alone. But now with some of the challenges that we have, it is imperative that we support each other. And we're here to support you. Like I always say, don't forget, we would love to come to your school, do a professional development. Reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you on the phone, whatever we can do to support you. I know we got a life-changing topic today because we got we brought the guru back. She's in the building, so it's got to be something around reading and learning and taking the kids to the next level. So talk to us, Katie. What are we talking about today?
Yes, we are going to talk literacy today. We're going to jump into a new series and ready for the new school year, all the things. We're going to jump in and talk specifically about reading and how do we get our kids, K-12, all of our kids involved in literacy and reading, increasing literacy skills and reading rates and reading motivation too.
Super, super, super important. You know, today I was doing the audio book. And so I was in the sound booth reading the book. You know, it's a different skill set than speaking, writing, and reading, you know, what you wrote to have that cadence to it, you know, and get the feel. So we got through the first 3 chapters today. So for all you young people out there or teachers that are listening, just because someone does not start strong in reading doesn't mean they can't potentially become strong. So don't get discouraged. It's not how we start, it's how we finish. And so they might not be the greatest readers in their teenage years, but if we set them up for success, they will be in their adult years. And most of you know we do adult years much longer than we do our teenage years. All right. So let's not give up. Let's not be the type of instructors that for our kids who get it, you know, and they love it, we tend to give them more of our attention and our time. Let's just make sure we're balanced. Those kids, just because they're not getting it today, it doesn't mean they won't get it at some point. All right. So super excited. So since we're talking about reading, Sam, now most of our guests should know, I'm not going to call her guest. She's family now, but you did it before. I'll let you do the introduction again. And then after this, no more introduction, guys. No more introduction.
What is Dave Letterman? His show is always like, my next guest needs no introduction. But Brenda Smith, welcome back, Principal Brenda Smith. She is the principal at Vashon High School in St. Louis, Missouri, where she has served as the longest standing principal, at least in 20 years. And so super excited. I know for me, personally, she's been extremely influential in my life as an educator and as a leader, and I know has had that powerful influence thousands of students and educators really across the nation. And since we are speaking about literacy today, I know I had the honor of being a part of Brenda's leadership team, where she really led us into a direction where it was all hands on deck from the entire high school to increase reading scores. So I'm just super excited for her to share her expertise today. And it's just an inspiration to us all. So thank you for joining us. And Brenda, I hope you're staying safe in St. Louis, because I'm definitely thinking of you all right now as there's flooding across the city.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you guys for having me. I had so much fun last time that I definitely was excited to be invited back. And we are definitely trying to stay as safe as possible. This water is not stopping. It's been like raining for the last 3 days here. But I'm thankful that I've been really, really safe, and my house actually hasn't been affected by it.
So y'all on some Noah stuff over there.
I said that earlier today. I was like, do I need to get an ark? Like, what's going on?
Well, let me know, because I'll definitely get in. I heard the story of the last couple people, so I'm jumping in that joke. Let me ask you this before we go and talk about literacy, reading, comprehension, all that good stuff. Sam made a great point about, you being at the school in the last 20 years, more than any other school leader. And I know how important that is, believe it or not, even as a pastor, it's kind of difficult, when you're at one congregation for a couple years and they shift you over so much just as the momentum is going. So for you, what are some of the perks that you see of being able to stay, in that leadership position for some time, so that as superintendents are listening and other leaders who are making these decisions can hear how beneficial it is to have a school leader in for a long period of time?
Yeah. So I think one of them is just having unfinished business. I took this to, as you guys remember, if you remember, I went to Vashon as a student, and I thought this was the most amazing place in the world. I didn't know of any of the negative stigmatisms that came with it. And so I want to see it through to be the place I thought it was. So that's one thing. One of the best benefits, however, though, is seeing families come through, seeing parents who say, like, you did an amazing job with my first child. I got 2 more coming, and knowing that you're going to have that connection with that family for forever because of the time at Vashon. The other thing is I got some amazing staff members that are just like, you can't leave. Like, we're here because you're here. Stay. And when you start to see those type of staff members, having that same principal and that same leader keeps those same teachers around as well.
I love it, man. I love it. I was telling the team, they are on Michigan, or let's say they're on Midwest schedule. So they're thinking kids are going back late August, early September. And I let them know that, in the South, they're back Monday, I'm saying? They're back in school, in the beginning of August, they're back, and so I know we talked about summer slide recently, but now we're back, all hands, on deck. Before we pass it around, Brenda, for you, what does that mean when we talk about increasing literacy for our young people? When we talk about, I always talk about, for me, one of the connections with reading, is becoming a critical thinker. I think it's important not just to be a good reader, but to be able to comprehend, like understand what you're reading and then apply it. Like, what's the connection in real life? Like, I was just reading Frederick Douglass' work, and I was just like, wow, here's a person that was able to purchase his own freedom, and I was like, yo, that's great. But what does that mean in 2022? Like, how do I apply you being able to buy your own freedom in a time where, like it's unprecedented. Like, it's not possible. He pulled off. So I'm like, Eric, in 2022, what does that mean for you, and what does that mean for the people you work with? So for you, as we're going back into the schools, what would you say to our educators about, all hands on deck and helping our babies get to the next level in literacy?
Yeah, I think you said it. You talked kind of about past tense, but right now, reading is freedom. You have the freedom to choose who and how you want to live, through reading, and that's in any subject area, and it opens so many doors for our kids. It opens the door for them to score high on the ACT and get in the college they want to go to a trade school. You have to read those manuals. I try myself all the time to figure it out, and I can read, and it's difficult. So the importance of having that tool just provides a lot of freedom for our children and just in life in general.
Yeah, Vondale, you know, of course, you just had Larry Miller in the building, and you did something unique in that you didn't just ask him to come and speak and share, you know, how he took the Jordan brand from 100 mil, you know, to what, a billion? Like, well, I don't know how.
5 billion.
Yeah, 5 billion. You know, so I didn't know if I got that number right. You know, 5 billion. You know, and so that alone was phenomenal. But you did something unique. You had him bring his newly released book, Jump, and I thought the cover of the book was phenomenal. So for all of you guys out there that want kids to be readers, you know, make it, you know, visually attractive, right? But it was the Jump, right? In the MJ red, right? In the MJ red. There we go, in the MJ red. But what I love is the sneakers on the wires, right? The sneakers, right? And that is symbolic, you know, in the urban community, right? That has a meaning to it. And I love it because he made that connection. Like he allowed kids to see the J's, which they are attracted to, and then the symbolism of shoes hanging on a wire, right? And so now a kid who's from the urban community is looking at that like, yo, I want to know, like, what's this book about? So I think for those of us who are champions of literacy, we have to make sure that we're not just on the ideology aspect of it, the pedagogy. But we also have to make sure from a practical standpoint, we make it appealing, we make it attractive, right? So why, Vondale, the 100 mil to 5 billion content was enough? Like, why did you think it was so important to get the book in the hands of our babies?
You know, it was something that I was going down, and Katie talks about it all the time. Like, they have to be able to see themselves inside of these, right? So I think relevancy is really important. So using something that's unique to urban America, and not just that, like Michael Jordan played for Chicago Bulls. This is the lane he grew his brand. It started right here. And to have somebody like Larry Miller, because when you see Larry Miller, a lot of people don't realize you are seeing Michael Jordan. This is literally the president and the founding chairman of his brand. So I figured that it was really important to connect the dots, not just to have him come share his powerful story in the book, but to get somebody to sponsor. And so I reached out, made the connection, and shout out William Blair, who sponsored 400 books to make sure that they were actually there at the conference. We have any more books left. All of the books are gone. And the powerful thing was they had a chance to see and hear the author, as well as his daughter, who's the co-author, talk about the inspiration of why father's story was really important to get in this text. So now you see the author, we have the book, and it's relevant, so I can make a connection. And it's so many people to say, oh, I already finished the book. It was so good, Mr. Singleton. Yeah. Like, that's the power. So now we putting ourselves in the story. So now we creating more authors. It's going to be kids not just read the book and know the story, but now to write their own story in their own book. And that to me is just powerful.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I was there. You know, I got a chance to meet the daughter, you know, who really encouraged her father. Like, tell the story, you know, tell the story. And we got to tell our stories. And, you know, I think one of the other things, guys, that we really have to take advantage of, you know, is and this happened to me when I wrote my first book, you know, and my mom, you know, she had issue a little bit, you know, with me telling our story. It was my story. I didn't tell her story. I just told my story, you know, but we are at a different place in America's history where the privacy of the past, you know, is not as deep as it is, you know, today as it was back then. Like, you know, my grandmother, I didn't even know it. Man, let me tell y'all something. write the books, tell the stories. In writing my book for a publishing company, which is different, because they had their own plan. They really started doing some digging on my family, like, when they were sharecroppers and before that enslaved. And it's like stuff I ain't know. And I didn't know because my grandmother never said anything. Like, they were private back then. My grandma didn't say nothing. And I used to always wonder, like, yo, why my grandma so like stoic? I'm like, she's so like business like, she like not like my other grandma. Like, I'm saying? She wasn't like like the fun grandma, right? And kind of find out when I, read the book, her mother passed having her, right? And so she missed that nurturer, right? And a lot of people don't get it. It's like your mother does something for you. The presence of your father does something for you. Each parent's presence is uniquely different, right? And so I was like, oh, I get why my grandmother, was like that now. It makes sense, but I didn't find out until maybe 2 months ago, and my grandma just died a month ago. So I didn't even get an opportunity to talk to my grandmother about it. And I didn't even get a chance to let her see the book, but I'm grateful that, in her passing, a part of her history, was told, and she'll be remembered forever. So we got to tell our stories. Like a lot of times too, and I think this is why our babies sometimes don't get into it, is because all we say about reading is grades. All we say about reading is, standardized testing. All we say about reading is, the benchmarks. It's like we never really say, believe it or not, your entire life, like the health and wealth of your entire life is dependent upon it. So Sam, talk to us. Teachers are going back. You on your way back soon. You just left this powerful training. What are we saying to our teachers as we get ready to get back in the classroom and take our babies to another level?
You know what, E, just as you were speaking, I was thinking about like, how do we change the narrative and the experience, like just like Vondale did, so that reading is seen as a gift, right? Like as books are seen as a gift. And I think there are so many steps to that. But like you said, a lot of times we are equating it to standardized tests or, something very specific. But really, how do we dig deep into that? How do we start early, right? But knowing that it's not too late. Brenda can share, like there was tremendous results when the strategy was there. And I think that is one of the biggest pieces that I want educators to think about. So I was involved in a retreat this past week, and they said that 20% of your time, the way that you spend your time, will have 80% of the impact that you have. So how are you really strategically using that 20% to get results? How do you set up that structure in your classroom? How do you set up that structure within your school? And I think Brenda has a very great example of that. And so I think it's just really important to think about, like, how do you present reading as something so special and as a gift, and to create very positive experiences around it. And that representation is key, of course, but that's kind of what's on my mind is, how do you create, this atmosphere where it's a gift and something really special, and also strategy.
That's powerful. A gift. That's powerful. No, that's powerful. Because again, it's if we're not careful, we're complacent as teachers. Like you go into the same classroom, you're going for 180 days. For the most part, you're seeing the same students. You live in the same city. You're seeing the same instructors every day. Like it's easy to get complacent. It's easy to, make kids forget that, one of the positives about America is that you do get free education. What I'm saying? Like that is a gift. Like that's not all around the world, and as a result, there can be global dominance because we read well. I'm just being real. Like I say this from personal experience, because I learned here in America, when I go to every other country and present, it's like you number one in America, you number one in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is. Like you don't have to fight. Once you're number one in America, you don't have to go to Australia to be number one. You don't have to go, what I'm saying, to Canada number one. Once you learn here and you study here, it's like I tell people, and I hope I'm not being biased, but I always tell people, if you're from the Midwest, you can go to any 50 of these states and you can handle yourself. If you're from the Midwest, you can handle yourself anywhere in the world, right? So with that being said, Katie, we with teachers, they're going back. Hopefully they got some rest. Hopefully they got some rest. If you didn't, go to sleep today and get as much as you can today and over the weekend. But what are we saying to them, Katie, as we go back in the schools and prepare our babies to get to the next level?
Yeah, as you guys were talking, I was thinking about one of my favorite quotes by an author, Mem Fox. She says, "When I say to a parent, read to a child, I don't want it to sound like medicine. I want it to sound like chocolate." And so I just would say the same thing to our teachers. We have to have the books that we present, the text, the passages, whatever it is, not feel like medicine that we're shoving down their throats, but like chocolate. And I promise you it is doable. It will take some work, right? Depending on where your kids are coming from and what their skill sets are and what their histories are, but it is absolutely doable. So I'll just share one quick thing. When you, Vondale, were talking about how you already have kids that are telling you they read this book, right? Your event was like 2 weeks ago, not even, and they have finished the book. So I'm so excited. Can I ask real quick, do you know if they are like readers? Like, do they read a lot already? Like the kids that are telling you that?
I don't think they are like readers like that, but I think it was like a third and fourth dimension to actually have the author. And then we talking about Michael Jordan. He's building a city. And this is the guy that built his brand. Like, come on now. And then the book is in your hands. So you don't have excuse because everybody had to get a book if you were one of the first 400. So you excuse. And we talking about it. Then you got ET moderating. So that takes it to a whole nother level. So people like, man, I can't wait to get home to read. It became life.
Yeah.
You know, not something far away on it was right in front of you. So yeah, that's why.
I love it. I really believe even those kids, if that maybe is the first like book they finished in a long time, right? A lot of teenagers say that, like, I haven't finished a book in years. And it was high interest, which I know teachers, your plate is full, your curriculum is full. It's hard to find time for that. But I believe, Vondale, that those kids are now going to go into the classroom and they're going to read the text that their teachers are making them read that maybe are not high interest, because they now see themselves as readers. They have like approached reading in an entirely different way because you gave them a book that came to life. You put it in their hands. They're excited about it. It was relevant. It was meaningful. And they're not just going to read that stuff now, teachers. They're going to go read all of the other things that you assign to them. And they're going to read the Odyssey now and think critically about it because they read Jump and they thought critically about it.
Yeah.
So we have to make time for that kind of reading.
Yeah, Sam, I see you. You said something powerful. Brenda, get ready. I'm coming to you. When I'm responsible for giving my books in bulk now, Sam, they got the Christmas wrapping on them in the bow now. I'm wrapping them jokers now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm not just taking them the book. Like, I'm wrapping that joker in some gold paper or some silver paper. I'm putting a sweet bow on it. I might throw a little small little card, you know, on it, write something nice to them and maybe a couple dollars. But I'm definitely going to make sure that the presentation is just as important as the presentation. So the external presentation is going to be just as meaningful as the internal presentation. That's phenomenal. Brenda, I see you ready. Talk to me. Talk.
Man, you guys have said so many things. I've been sitting here waiting to jump in. One of the things is just tell your story. And so this school year, I got in this program and we kind of are redesigning what our 9th grade looks like. And one of the things we talked about was allowing them to tell their story. Everybody tells it for them. Everybody says why they ended up at Vashon. But that's a part of literacy as well. Like it's reading, it's writing, and students are able to engage so much more when it's something that they're interested in. So when you talk about them reading Jump, it's because that was something that they like, I want to read, I want to talk about. And then Katie, when they read those things, I think it's so important that our teachers do a side by side. So yeah, we got to read the Odyssey. Yeah, we got to read Shakespeare, because those things are going to open doors as well. But let's do a side by side of a nice Jason Reynolds book that they're really engaged in.
Yes.
With that, and now let's get into some deep analysis on the comparison between the two, and watch how excited our kids get. They want to read, they want to analyze, but we got to provide them with the material that's going to get them to do it.
Oh, come on. You got me thinking about Denzel and Macbeth. Oh, we got Denzel. You know what I'm saying? I sat down and watched it because Denzel was doing it. I was like, I got to see it. If it's Denzel, I got to watch it, you know? And Denzel did a phenomenal job, you know, of bringing us into another world, you know, and allowing us to appreciate and value literature, you know, from other communities, you know? And I think that's important. So what you said, and I try to equally, you know, bring in the artists that they love, you know. So when we're talking about reading, I am quick to bring in the fact that Lil Wayne was an honor student. And I'm bringing in what high school he went to and what courses he took as an honor student. You know, I'm making sure that they know that Biggie Smalls was phenomenal in English and that Tupac was a son of a scholar. You know what I'm saying? I'm just making sure they understand, like, you're not alone. You're not going to be the first. You won't be the last, you know, and kind of showing a lot of our artists who graduated from universities, you know, who have degrees, you know, the Ice Cubes of the world. You know, the looters of the world. Like, they went to school, y'all. Like, the people that you look up to, they went to school. You look up to Lil Wayne, you know. I always say, you know, it's tricky, but you got to be careful when you look at, you know, somebody like Kanye. Yeah, maybe he didn't go to school, but he was raised in school. You know, his mom was an English professor, you know, at Chicago State University, the chair department. You know what I'm saying? So he was educated. So when he talks about his albums, College Dropout, Late Registration, like, guys, these are college terms. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's inundated with this stuff, and letting our young people know that he was such a phenomenal rapper and is today because of the influence of his mom, who is an English, you know, was an English just in and out, you know? And so, yeah, I get excited about this. So, well, we're going to go around one more time. You know, guys, if you can now think, especially Brenda, Sam talked about strategy. You know, she talked about strategy. Let's all share with educators some of the strategies that we've used either for students to increase learning and or teachers who we've impacted to help them to understand some of the strategies and the techniques that they can use. So Sam, I know you said Brenda taught you. I don't know if you want her to go first and give us the strategy. All right. So you're not gonna take your leaders' stuff. So we'll start with Brenda. Give us some strategies.
Yeah, man. So one of the things that I kind of actually learned this summer at an institute was that we don't always diagnose what the reading issue is properly with our students. And so, especially on the high school level, we jump right to comprehension and we try to figure out how do we get them to comprehend better. But there might be some fluency, some decoding skills that our students need. And so the first strategy is just really figuring out what the issue is. And so we use a system called the benchmark assessment system. And it provides a one-on-one reading test so that you get to figure out exactly where the issue is, so that you can start to support the student. Because just like if you go to the doctor and they diagnose you wrong, that's another level of frustration.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the one. The other one I'm going to talk about, once you kind of figure out what the issue is, constantly books in front of them that are high interest, but low readability. That's going to start to build their courage. And I can do this. I can read this before you start putting the hard stuff in it. And then the last thing I'm going to say is one of the conferences I attended this summer talked a lot about how we don't put grade level material in front of our students because we say they have reading gaps. But that is the opposite of what we should be doing to kids. We should put it in front of them because that gives them the motivation to want to read better so that they are able to understand the content.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. All right, Sam. All right. you gave honor where honor is due. So talk to us.
You see why we brought her in?
Oh, no question. She gave me 3. She gave us 3. Let's go.
Yeah. I think just a quick one is I've been thinking about this, but like modeling, right? As a teacher, as an educator, as a parent, as a family member, as a mentor, as the auntie, as an uncle, as an older sibling. What does it look like for you to model reading, right?
Yeah.
For whatever children you're around. And it might even be planning also, like even if the teacher, the educator shows this is the schedule for my day, it is very busy, right? But these are the times I actually like read for 15 minutes here or read for 30 minutes here. And I think that sometimes kids have the mindset of maybe when they're supposed to read. And I think that could potentially be helpful also, is modeling a schedule and working together to talk about that.
I love it. Vondale, talk to us.
Going back to relevancy, I actually meeting with Principal Tally today. She's the principal of Emmett Till, and I don't know if y'all saw the of Till that's actually coming out. So his childhood home is 2 blocks away from the school, and one of the things she said was, "I've been rethinking, and I realized that my teachers and students don't really know about Emmett Till. So what this year is really build it out, not just for the teachers and students, but also for the parents." And I said, well, you know what? The movie theater down the street, I know the owner. How about we do a movie day when Emmett Till come out, invite his family, do some readings around it. And then in Champs, when we come in Mondays and Fridays, we can kind of hit on these things, the history, and maybe do a living museum, right? So I think like even with this, you can go in terms of imagination and build out around the relevancy. So I just think like even as leaders think on the missing pieces, the components that you can add upon and build upon around reading.
Oh, Katie.
Oh, and I was too. We're both chatting on mute. We're just listening to you, Vondale. You've got so many good things to say. We were on to listen first. It's so hard for me to decide. I'll say one thing, just bouncing off of what you just said, Vondale, when you said like maybe go somewhere, right? Make things relevant. And if you don't have the opportunity to do that, create the experience in your classroom, because that is also doable. And that is a way to expose to high interest text, make things more relevant as well. So for my high school students, when I was trying to make text more approachable, expose them to a lot of different books to choose from, I did speed dating with books, a day at the movies, these kind of things, food tasting, book tasting, where you can just do a quick classroom. It's a little extra work, right? You can do this, teachers. It's that little extra work. It makes a big, big difference, and people will help you. So when you just mentioned going to the movies, I did the day at the movies where we previewed like 10 different books that were all also movies, and they had moved from station to station and watched the movie trailer. My local movie theater donated popcorn for all the kids. The theater manager in the high school brought in like some of the theater seats from the theater into the classroom. So it just was fun. When they walked in that day, they were like, oh, okay, Mrs. Davis, what are we doing in here today? It was fun. They ate popcorn, but then they all read those books, because we had a fun way to approach them and to get excited about them. So take the trip, yes, but transform that classroom in one day, do something simple. That is also doable if you need to do it that way.
I want to come to Miss Davis' class.
No questions asked. No questions asked. I absolutely love it. I've mentioned this before. I don't know if teachers really consider it, because of course they're on time blocks and all of this other stuff, but pace, pace. I can run a 5K. I can't run it at the speed that a 21-year-old can run it, but I can run a 5K. I can run a 10K, but I can't run it at the speed of a 30-year-old, but I can run a 10K. And so one of the things that we have to understand is that our babies can read. Some of them can read. They just get frustrated when they have to do it, in a certain time frame, right? And so then they just shut down, like we all do when we're anxious and full of anxiety or stress or worry, right? So one of the things I want to suggest is let's figure out what their pace is. Let's encourage them at that pace. And I got a good friend I told y'all who taught me AE. After every second or third run, just go up 5.1. And then 3 or 4 more later, just go up 5.2. Or when you are running and you get into the last 30 minutes, maybe the last minute of your 30 minutes, just hit the 5.1 boy. You know what I'm saying? And before you know it, like you're gonna be back up to 6.0. You know what I'm saying? Like you were young, or 6.35. You're gonna get there, right? And so I'd say number one, let's not say they can't read because they can't keep up with I'll be kind. They can't keep up with some of the demands of state and the federal government. Okay, that doesn't mean they can't do it because they can't keep up. And then once we figure out where they are, let's let them do it at their pace. Number two, when we're able to do it at our pace, we begin to believe in ourselves. And I think a lot of times when we deal with academia, we forget the social, and emotional part of us, and that is we tend not to do things that we don't believe we can do. Like we tend not to want to do things that we feel are challenging. As a matter of fact, the way the brain is designed to stop you from doing anything that it thinks will hurt it. Okay, anything the brain thinks like, yo, that's going to be discomforting. like we don't want to do that. All right, so we got to work with the brain, and we got to give them small wins, right? Small wins, and then the final one to my educators. And especially those of you who, are in communities where, kids aren't necessarily operating at the highest level. Challenge them.
Yeah.
Challenge them, man. Don't be scared. Like, you're not helping nobody. You're not helping any child when you don't make them reach a certain level. You're not supporting them like that. Like, I'm gonna make it easier. You're going through so much at home. Well, if you're going through a lot at home, I really need to challenge you. Like, if your mama can't read, I really need to put the gas down because you need to break that cycle. And I say that because, I was just on the east side of Detroit, and there were a bunch of kids. It is what it is. Behavior challenges, doing whatever. And I told the kids, I said, listen to me. I don't know who the last person was that came to meet you guys, but you punked him. I don't know who the last teacher was, but you scared her. It's not going down like that. You're not about to scare me. I'm not about to not care about you. I'm not about to not challenge you. You're not about to make me not do my presentation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going down. Like, I'm here to challenge you. And I made it the last person might have felt like because you was asleep and they weren't going to say nothing to you because you was asleep. I'm about to tell you to wake up. People pay $100,000 to hear me speak. You getting it for free. You about to wake up and get this work. Like, you're not about to just sit there and sleep on me. Wake up. And so I think a lot of times, we're afraid. But my thing is, hey, if you're going to do the work, and force them to do the work. And you'll be shocked. Yes, there were a couple students that walked out. But there was one who went to the back and then came back up to the front and then met me afterwards. Like, Mr. Thomas, here's my number, bro. Like, I'm trying to graduate. Like, they're my boys, but they walked out on you. But I'm not trying to. I want to take what you're offering, is what he said. I want to take what you're offering. Now, he said, I don't know how to take what you're offering, but I want to take it. Here's my number. Give me a call. I said, give me a call, and he called. And so I just want to say to my educators, like, yo, do the work. Be a professional. Get on the field. I don't care if you're playing the Cowboys. Get on the field. The Bears, get on the field. You know what I'm saying? The Rams, get on the field. Like, you don't get to look at the schedule and go, oh, no, that's the 49ers. That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. We can't play them. No, you play everybody on your schedule. Teach everybody on your schedule. Teach everybody on your schedule. Teach everybody that come in your classroom. Every last one of them. Hold all of them accountable. And I'm telling you, there's some that we will be able to get if we hold them, accountable. Well, hey, guys, this is mass impact. I'm trying to tell y'all. I'm not saying that because that's the name of the show. I'm just telling you, I get an opportunity once a week to sit down and chat and come up with some solutions for some beats. People who are literally in the field. Not people, who talking about, what I'm saying, who never played the game. Everybody here has played the game, is actively in the game. You know what I'm saying? And we trying to be Hall of Famers, in education. We trying to win that chip in education. And we do it by our numbers grow as our babies grow, academically. So this is a phenomenal place to be. You want to get here. And like I said, I don't care which one of us If you need professional development, we can all come. You know what I'm saying? You can get two of us. I don't care, but you know that you're getting some great information that needs to go in front of your school leaders and your instructors and parents, right? And maybe even community leaders need to hear from us, or your students. We're here for you, right? So as always, we're going to take it back to the principal's office. Coach B, take it away.
Welcome back, everybody, to the principal's office of another episode of Mass Impact, the Education Podcast. Today, we were talking about how do we build a love for reading with our K-12 students. And of course, to help us facilitate that conversation, we had our special guest, Brenda Smith, joining us for the second time here on Mass Impact. Always a pleasure to have her on. She's the principal at Vashon High School. And she started things off by reminding us, look, reading is freedom. If you want to learn something, reading is how you do it. Learning is the route to freedom. Reading is the route to learning. So reading, therefore, equals freedom. She said you have the freedom to choose how you want to live through reading. I thought that was such a deep statement. You get to choose how you want to live. What do you want your life to look like? You get to decide that based on what you read, how you're feeding the mind that you have, how you're growing this garden that you have between your ears. And reading is how we do that. So she started things off by setting the tone of just reminding us of how important reading is. From there, we realized that increased reading and reading skills will open doors, help increase standardized test scores, and get students into the schools of their choice. Reading is so critical because not only do you get the knowledge from whatever book you happen to be reading in the moment, but you're also getting better at critical thinking. You're getting better at analysis. You're getting better at all of these things that are measured on these standardized tests, in addition to the knowledge and the information that's within the book. When kids get higher standardized test scores, they get to go to the schools of their choice. When they go to the schools of their choice, usually the academics are better, but even more than that, they are more excited to go there, right? And that makes them more invested in their entire educational journey. And it all starts with reading. You know, Vondale shared about having Larry Miller, the author of Jump, to speak at his recent Champs event, and how pulling a relevant, attractive text to all the students got them really reading. So there's a difference between reading and really reading. And what Vondale was able to do with his Champs event was take something that kids were already talking about. And we've talked about this in past episodes. How do we leverage pop culture? How do we leverage the things that kids are already interested in to get them to do what we know is really good for them? In this case, reading. So what Vondale did is he took something that he knew that they were already focused on, this book called Jump. He brought in the author, had him speak at his event to all of his kids at Champs Mentoring, and all of a sudden, just like that, they caught the bug, the fire was ignited, and now they're reading everything else. So what can you do that can leverage what your kids are already focused on to get them in the reading game? Next up, E and Katie pulled the conversation together with a continual reminder that reading matters. I feel like I need to get something made to like sit on the set that says reading matters, because we say it all the time. Reading matters. We must be champions of literacy by making reading appealing, which will get kids really reading. Again, kids don't necessarily some kids do gravitate to books just automatically. A lot of kids don't. So the way that we can solve that is by integrating it with something else that they are already passionate about, something that they're already interested in learning about. Give them some books on that. It'll give them the bug. They'll start to realize, oh, hey, I really enjoy the outcomes I'm getting from reading, so maybe I'm going to start reading other things that I'm interested about. I'll start exploring other subjects, other topics, and that is how we help reading catch on with our kids. Last but not least, let's all be a part of the work. When we create readers, we will change the world. Now, something that I think follows along the same idea of reading and how important literacy is, not just for our school children, but for us, honestly, for everybody. Or this quote, rather, that I heard not too long ago that said, average people talk about people, meaning gossip. They talk about, this person said that at the party last night, they said this, they were talking to so-and-so. It's gossip. So average people talk about people. Then they said good people talk about things. So maybe that's news, politics, current events. They're talking about things that are happening in the world. But the great people, this is what the quote said, the great people talk about ideas. And ideas come from books. And the more ideas we can have, the more ideas we can conceptualize, the more ideas that we can stress test, that we can think about, that we can discuss with other people, that is how progress is made. And so not just for your kids, but what about for you? What books are you reading? Let us know in the comments below. Talk to us about what you're reading. And until next time, we'll see you on the next episode of Mass Impact.